300,000 miles. Most folks think a number that high belongs on a big semi-truck, not a family car. But it's happening right now, on our roads, in real driveways, driven by real people. Commuters driving 70 miles a day through Los Angeles, rideshare drivers working 12-hour shifts in Chicago winters, families in rural Mississippi where the nearest shop is 45 minutes away and the car cannot fail. They didn't just get lucky. They bought smart and stayed on top of it. Here is the hard truth. Most cars will never make it that far. IC Cars looked at over 174 million vehicles and found that the average car today has a 4.8% chance of reaching 250,000 miles. Not 300,000, 250,000. 95 out of 100 cars on the highway will never see 250,000 miles. Not because drivers abuse them, because most buyers had no idea what engine they were getting into when they signed the papers. This is what should have been in your owner's manual. The engines that actually survive. The ones that break before 100,000. The maintenance habits that really make a difference. And the used car trap sitting on dealer lots right now, waiting for someone who didn't do their homework. Quick break before we go further. If you are looking for a used car, checking if your current ride can go the distance, or just trying to stop getting burned in this market, subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover real car buying costs and how to avoid scams every week. And drop your make, model, and current miles in the comments. I actually read them. And we track those cars over time. Okay, back to it. Section 1. The math behind 300,000 miles. Let's look at the math first, because most buyers never bother. The government says the average American drives about 15,000 miles every year. At that rate, 300,000 miles is 20 years of driving. 20 years. So when you see a car with 180,000 miles, and your gut says that is too high, you are really looking at a 12-year-old car. A Toyota Camry or Honda Civic at that mileage, if taken care of, is often in the middle of its life, not the end. S&P Global found that the average car life in America is 12.6 years. Do the math. At 15,000 miles a year, a car that lasts 12.5 years dies somewhere around 188,000 miles. It never comes close to 300,000. Not because it was driven too hard, but because most buyers do not know which engines were built for the long haul and which ones were just built to look good on a lot for 3 years. The money side of staying on the road is real. New car prices are averaging over $50,000 right now. At $1,200 a year in service, the high end for a reliable vehicle, keeping a car for 20 years costs $24,000 in repairs over 2 decades. That is less than the down payment on a new $50,000 truck. Nobody talks about it that way, but that is the actual math. Section 2. The engines that actually get there. Toyota is the leader, and it isn't even close. In the latest long-lasting vehicle study, the Sequoia had a 39.1% chance of reaching 250,000 miles, 9 times the average for all SUVs. The 4Runner came in second at 32.9%, 7 times the average. 5 Toyota models are in the top group. One Tundra owner hit 879,000 miles. A 2016 4Runner reached 337,000 just by changing the oil every 5,000 miles. These aren't just stories. These are real documented cars. The Camry's 5-year repair cost is about $1,500 total. Not every year. $1,500 for 5 years. Consumer Reports looked at data from almost 400,000 vehicles, and the top brands were Toyota, Subaru, Lexus, then Honda. What those brands share: old technology that works, simple designs, and using the same parts across their lineup instead of trying risky new things just for speed or performance. Toyota's dependability score was very high, consistently better than the rest of the industry. Experts give Toyota and Lexus a reliability score of 72 out of 100. way ahead of BMW at 65 and Honda at 62. Honda is a solid second place. The Civic has a 26.3% chance of hitting 250,000 miles. Repair sites put Honda's average yearly repair cost at $583, among the lowest of any brand. Honda's K-Series engines, found in Civics and Accords for 20 years, are loved by professional mechanics. They reward simple oil changes and timing belt service with a very long life. Don't forget the Prius in this conversation. It averaged over 250,000 miles before being sold again. For Uber drivers in big cities like Atlanta or Phoenix, the Prius hybrid system saves the brakes instead of wearing them out. Brake costs are a huge ongoing expense for high-mileage city drivers. On a Prius, they last much longer. That really matters once you hit 100,000 miles. Section 3. The engines that do not make it. Now for the other side. These are the engines sitting on used car lots today, looking like a deal, but about to cost somebody a lot of money. Ford's tiny EcoBoost engines, the 1.0 and 1.5-liter turbos in the Escape and Bronco Sport, have a long history of leaking coolant, running hot, and blowing head gaskets. Early ones even caught fire. A recent mechanic survey named these as engines you should stay away from. The bigger EcoBoost engines in the trucks are much better. These small versions are not. GM's 3.6-liter V6 and 2.4-liter four-cylinder are in many Chevy, Buick, and Cadillac models. Timing chains breaking, burning oil, water pump failures, it's all there. GM even gave a longer warranty for some models because the timing chains were so bad. When a car maker gives you a special warranty for one specific part, that's not a good sign. That's them admitting the problem is real and happens to everyone. Hyundai and Kia's Theta 2 engines, the ones used from roughly 2011 to 2019, had a huge lawsuit over engines locking up and burning too much oil. They have gotten better since then, but any used car with a Theta 2 engine that doesn't have perfect oil records is a huge risk. BMW's 2.0-liter turbo, used in the older 3 Series, uses plastic parts for the timing chain that wear out too fast. They usually start failing around 100,000 miles. BMW hasn't done a full recall, they just handle them one by one. This means a buyer might not know the chain is bad until the engine dies. If that happens, you aren't fixing it. You are replacing the whole thing. The VW and Audi 2.0-liter turbo engine from the late 2000s had a bad timing part from the factory. Most fail between 60 and 100,000 miles. Fixing it early costs about $1,000. If it breaks while you're driving, it destroys the engine and costs way more. Mini Cooper S from 2007 to 2013. The N14 engine. Chains stretch, turbos fail, and the cooling system breaks, often before 80,000 miles. It needs fresh oil. The manual said to wait 15,000 miles. In the real world, you need to change it every 5. If the last owner followed the book, the engine is probably already ruined. The pattern here is always the same. Too many parts, cheap materials instead of strong ones, and parts hidden where they are hard to fix. Every shortcut the engineers took, you have to pay for later. The engine is only half the story. The other half is the folder of papers in your glove box. Oil changes are not a choice. The average cost for an oil change today is about $164. Some people try to save money there. On a normal Toyota, going a little late won't kill it. On a turbo engine, it might. A turbo spins incredibly fast and uses the same oil as the engine. Dirty oil in a turbo doesn't just wear it down, it starves the part, gets too hot, and breaks the bearings. A new turbo costs thousands. An oil change is cheap. That should be an easy choice. Coolant should be changed every 2 years or 30,000 miles, but most drivers never do. Old coolant loses its balance, turns into acid, and eats the metal parts it's supposed to protect. Blown head gaskets are almost always caused by bad coolant. A flush costs a couple $100. A head gasket fix costs thousands. Transmission fluid is the one service people skip because the car shifts fine. It will shift fine right until the day it stops, and by then, it's too late. Any used car with over 100,000 miles and no transmission service records is a red flag. A flush is a few $100. A new transmission can cost $6,000. Timing belts on certain engines have to be replaced, usually every 60 to 100,000 miles. If you're buying a used car and can't prove the belt was done, assume it wasn't. If that belt snaps while you're driving, it kills the engine instantly. Replacing the belt is a few $100. Replacing the engine is $10,000. That service folder isn't just paper. It's proof that the owner cared about what they were driving. Section 5. How to buy for longevity in this market. When you are shopping, check the government recall site before you even take a test drive. It's free at nhtsa.gov and only takes a few minutes. You aren't looking for small recalls. Every car has those. You are looking for big engine problems, timing chain failures, and oil issues. GM's timing chain problems and BMW's engine issues both show up here. If a car maker knows an engine is failing, the proof is in those records. Next, look up how likely that specific model is to last. A car with a 5% chance of hitting 250,000 miles is a lot different than one with a 30% chance. That choice changes how much money you will have in 10 years. Ask for real service papers. Not a story. Not a promise that it was taken care of. You want receipts or a printout from the dealer. On any car with over 100,000 miles, missing oil change records isn't something to argue about. It's a reason to walk away. Where you live matters too. In hot states like Arizona or Texas, the cooling system is everything. Heat will break a weak cooling system that might have lasted longer in the cold. In places near the ocean, rust and salt damage are the big things to check. Know your weather and look for those specific problems. For delivery drivers, the Toyota Prius is worth a look. The way it brakes saves you a lot of money on pads. If you drive hundreds of miles a week in the city, those savings really add up over a few years. Section 6. Who should and should not target 300,000 miles? 300,000 miles isn't for everyone, and you should be honest about that. If you drive a lot, work for Uber, or live in the country far from a shop, picking the right car is the biggest money choice you'll make. A 5-year-old Toyota Camry with good records and 100,000 miles is better than a brand new cheap car on a 5-year loan. Every single time. People who trade in their cars every few years have a different plan. Even then, Toyota and Honda keep their value better because people know they are reliable. But long-term engineering matters less if you're selling the car at 60,000 miles. Luxury buyers need to be realistic. BMW and Mercedes make great cars that are fun to drive, but they cost a lot more to own. Data shows that repairs for those brands cost way more than a Toyota. People buying used BMWs or Audis are taking a big risk. Those cars can last, but you have to pay to get them there. Brand new designs are always a risk. The data is clear. When a car is totally redesigned, it has more problems, even from good brands. The newest Chevy Equinox and GMC Terrain got low scores right after they were changed. If you want a car to last forever, buy one that has been out for 2 or 3 years, not the first model year. The data on high-mileage cars is clear, and it hasn't changed in years. Toyota is on top. The Sequoia has huge survival odds. The 4Runner is right there too. The Camry has very low repair costs and a history that no other brand can match. Honda is a close second, with the Civic and Accord offering great value and some of the lowest repair bills in the country. The engines that break, like Ford's tiny turbos, GM's timing chain models, and BMW's older engines, they fail exactly when you expect them to. It isn't bad luck, it's just how they were designed. Taking care of them is simple. Change the oil on time, especially if you have a turbo. Flush the coolant every 2 years. Service the transmission before it breaks. Change the timing belt when the book says to. Keep a folder of receipts to prove it. That costs about $1,000 a year. Ignoring it costs 10 times that when the engine dies. Hitting 300,000 miles isn't a miracle. It's what happens when you pick the right car and stay on top of it for 20 years. The people doing it right now aren't doing anything magic. They just didn't stop. If you want to keep your car forever, that is the only way to do it.